Okay, the next item on the agenda is also involving media and television. Mr. Eddington with the Neilsen results from the study with our WGN Beyond Today program. So when you get it together, you're on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for smiling for the council photo. It'll be posted on the website later this week, and we'll be having 2 new biographies posted too, one for Darius and one for Randy as well on the council website, coe.ucg.org, for those that want to see the new photo when it gets posted. So yes, we did go ahead and contract with Neilsen to get some information about our Saturday morning and Sunday morning television program results. Tom Disher did most of the legwork on this and set up the parameters with them, and we paid them their fee, and then we got data for February, March, and April. Okay, so which is the first time we've done this. Television stations that we work with, have worked with over the years, do not bother paying to get rating results for Sunday morning religious programming. They don't really care. Now their prime time sitcoms on Monday night, yes, they'll pay big bucks to get all of the information on that. But they don't really care if anybody's getting any viewers on Sunday morning, because we're paying them to air our program. It's not their network content. So it's like we've got a 30-minute ad that we're paying for, on Sunday morning. So we got our results back. I'll pass out first of all the Sunday morning results, and we'll go through those. You'll get an idea of how it all went. Here we go. There's a Sunday morning for you. Take one of those. And we've got a little bit of an explanation that Tom put in at the beginning as to exactly what we're doing here. So this was February through April 2019. So Neilsen ratings, you can see on page 2, are the audience measurement systems operated by Neilsen Media Research that seek to determine the audience size and composition of television programming in the United States using a rating system. Now, this is an important caveat. They're taken from a representative sample. So they are not exact numbers. They should show a trend or general information about our audience. So on page 3, you see that an average of 40,000 people watched on Sunday morning for at least a minute. Okay? So 40,000 there on page 3. Now, they didn't get results from all 40,000 people. They got a sampling of that and then extrapolated it across the country and across the markets using all of their analytical data. So what we've found so far is about 40,000 people had tuned in at some point during the program. And not just flipped channels immediately, but at least stayed for a minute or more. Okay? So that's 40,000. That's the Red Stadium filled to the brim with people every week watching the program. Right now, we're spending $10,000. $10,000. So that's about, 40 cents a seat. We're paying 40 cents per viewer right now. It's actually less than that. I'll show you that in a minute. But on average, 40,000. Go to page 4. You'll see by program now over a period of 3 months. The one that I've highlighted in yellow are the responses to the program. So we got around 400. See, it's right around 400 per program, right? The responses along that 400 line. And it's also, if you multiply by 100, it's 40,000 viewers. It's interesting that the repeat programs are from the old studio. So if you look at the fourth from the left, Unforgivable, the Michaela Demas story. You go down to about 3/4 of the way across, Utopia, Is It Humanly Possible? That's also a repeat. And the second last one about Easter is a repeat. Responses were down for the repeats, but the viewership was up. So people still watched it, but maybe they already had the booklet or had seen it before. But that's just a little bit of a comparison between responses and the viewers themselves. As you go to page 5, here's WG in America versus what's happening on Roku any given week. The yellow line are Roku views times 10, so it's about 5,000 Roku views per program. Dan?
And do you already get those analytics from Roku?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, so Neilsen did not give us these Roku figures.
No, I was just clarifying.
Yeah, and right, so they didn't give us these figures. Those are from our own analytics. So the Roku viewers was pretty even across. And then you see the viewers compared to that for each of the programs as well. If we go to page 6, you see the age of our viewers. Our viewers definitely are older. Viewers above 55 are 69% higher than viewers under 55, under age 55. So you get about almost 3/4 of the viewers are over 55. Okay, 69%. Just a bit over 2/3 are over 55. And then on page 7, you see the race demographics. 70% of our viewers are white. 22% of our audience are black. The remaining 8% are another race. And 7.6% are from a Spanish-speaking household. So 70% white. 22% black. Education level on page 8. 68% of our viewers have a college education or greater. These are more than just high school grads. 30% have a high school education and 2% didn't finish high school. So more than 2/3 of our audience are well educated and have a degree. Income, page 9. 66% of our audience lives in a household that earns over $75,000 a year. 29% over $125,000 a year. So when you look at the income level chart there, we certainly have a highly educated audience that earns above the average household income.
So those are two different groups, not 29% of, or 66% of the 29, or however you divide it. In other words, you have a group that makes over 75, and of that group, 29 makes 125. They're two separate groups, right?
How did you do that, Tom?
That's correct.
Okay, so that,
They're two separate groups.
Well, you can see the chart here.
Well, that's what, yeah, I just wanted to confirm.
66%
Okay.
earn over 75,
Okay,
and 29% of the total
okay,
earn over 125.
okay.
okay.
So we sort of would overlap the 29.
This figure is
66.
That's right.
Okay, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, so Tom, you're saying that
66% of that in the last three income levels.
Yeah,
66% of the total, and 29% of it.
yeah, that's right.
because I was saying 94%.
Page 10, jobs.
95%.
So jobs, so they're highly educated and they make more than the average US household income, and quite a few of them white collar workers. Most are white collar, desk jobs. And then below that, they're retired. Below that, blue collar. Professional managerial would be a bit of white collar as well. So, but the unskilled is definitely a lower percentage. So we have a discerning audience, I would say, overall.
Interesting, the 5% clerical in there.
Yeah. Page 11, political leanings. Our total audience is about 58% Democrat, 33% Republican, and 9% Independent. So they're not all Trump lovers. In fact, most of them are not, which is interesting. So 58% Democrat. And then the final page, page 12, 98% of our audience has internet access in their household, which is what you'd expect from a highly educated, upper middle class household. And 85% has over-the-top streaming boxes, Roku, Fire TV, that type of thing. So we can reach them on Roku when we tell people to go watch the program again on Roku or on Amazon Fire. 85% of them could do that from our Sunday morning audience.
Peter, what is OTT?
Over the top.
Okay.
It's a term that's used for internet connected devices. So refrigerators are included in that if they're connected to the internet.
Okay.
And millions are. So when you take food out of the fridge, you can have Kroger restock it for you automatically without even calling Kroger. It'll know what you took out of the fridge. Microwaves, fridges. It's not just TVs. Even just when you turn on your lights in your house remotely using your phone. There are all kinds of internet. Go ahead, Tom. You're going to make a comment.
This figure actually, the 85% only includes OTT streaming boxes, Roku, Fire TV, things that can stream video directly from without a network in the middle.
So it's just the box.
So I think you're talking about IoT. Internet
Oh,
of Things.
IoT. Sorry, Tom.
Sorry to correct you, but
Yes, no, you're right.
the
Yes.
number there is 85% of the people that can watch it streaming instead of getting it through any kind of
Yes,
network.
yes, I'm sorry. So you're referring to set-top boxes.
Yes.
So that would include straight internet?
No.
No?
No, OTT is the streaming boxes, includes Roku, Chrome TV.
Apple
Mostly
TV.
Roku is
So if
the-
someone does this via their laptop, that's not gonna show up in this demographic?
That's not an OTT streaming box, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. I was referring to an IoT, sorry. That when you have all of these devices connected to the internet in your house. This is set-top boxes, OTT. So, yeah, thanks for the clarification, Tom. Aaron.
You got 7% of our audience come from Spanish speaking. Is that dual language, I'm assuming, or are they trying to learn English? I mean,
Primary language in the household is Spanish.
okay.
So now let's look at Saturday. Saturday morning. For the same period, February through April. So about 12,000 people on average watch at least 1 minute of the program on Saturday morning. So we actually got a total audience of about 52,000. And so if we're spending $10,000 for 52,000 seats, what does that come out to? 10,000 divided by 52,000? 19 cents a seat. That's pretty good to get someone to watch your program for a little while. 19 cents per person or per household. So, but the figures are a lot smaller for Saturday. If you look at Sunday versus Saturday now on page 4, you see the top line in the graph obviously is Sunday. The bottom line is Saturday for each of those programs. A program that did well on Sunday didn't necessarily do as well on Saturday. It's kind of all over the place. There's no real trend there. But it just depends on who happened to come across the program each time. Age of our viewers.
Peter,
Sorry? Yes?
so when you give us numbers of what a particular episode has done, which graph are you pulling from? Are you getting combined numbers, or are you only looking at Sunday?
For what?
Well, the reports that you give to the
Oh, it's not
council.
related to Neilsen at all. They're
Okay.
actual phone calls we receive.
Okay.
Actual phone calls, actual literature requests, actual emails, actual snail mail letters that we count. Because this is just representative. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I would have to go back and look at what John Le Bissonnaire helped us report, that I put in my reports, compared to this. For example, it looks like there are a lot of viewers for that repeat program, Utopia. Is it humanly possible? That was a repeat, and it's the highest one on Sunday for the week. But it wasn't the highest one from phone calls coming in, from responses, but it was very high for viewership. Yeah. Page 5, the age of our viewers. So our Saturday viewers are skewing a little younger than our Sunday viewers. And you'll see under 35, you've got males by age, female by age, and then the total. So the majority of the age is between 35 and 54, whereas on Sunday it was above 55. It was a much bigger amount. On race, 60% white on Saturday morning, 40% black. And the numbers were small on the sample, so it didn't show any other races that were of significance at that time. But on Sunday it was 70% white, on Saturday it was 60% white. But like I mentioned, and Tom will tell you, the figures on these are pretty small in some places to try and get a percentage. The sample that we got. Education level, 82% of Saturday morning has a college education or greater, which is more than Sunday morning, which was 68%. So maybe those who are up Saturday morning are even those that are still working for the week, it's possible, and that are more of the professionals that are up and about, because the program does air very early. That was at 5:30 a.m., I think. It's pretty early, so there's probably people up that have to still work that day, I would say. Page 8, income. So, not quite as affluent as the Sunday morning. And jobs, it's kind of similar to what we saw on Sunday morning. The white collar, skilled, professional, and whatnot. Gives you an idea. Doesn't really mean a whole lot at this point. Political leanings, 55% Democrat, 22% Republican, which compares to 58% Democrat on Sunday morning, so it's very similar. Very similar to Sunday morning. And then the internet capability, 100% of those who Neilsen grabbed on that Saturday morning had internet access in their household. 90% had set-top boxes. So similar to Sunday morning as well. And there is no back page, it's blank. So we'll probably do this again next February, March, April, now that we have a bit of a baseline. See if our audience has gone up above 52,000. See if we get any better results. And maybe we'll try and see how many people are watching their program for a longer period. It's difficult to know some of these things. But any questions, thoughts, or anything you want to add, Tom? Raina?
Just out of curiosity, how do they get all this information?
So they have Neilsen households that have a little box attached to their television that tracks everything they watch. It reports back. And so it's a sampling. There's 300 million people in the country, but maybe 500,000 boxes, I don't know, but it's just a sampling.
But they've been doing it for how many decades? Long time.
And they're doing it back when you used to have to fill out forms every night after you finish watching TV and mail it in. That's how they used to do it. Thankfully now it's all digital. So, in the old days you filled it out by hand. Bob? Yeah.
Yeah, how long did they have to watch in order to qualify as a sample?
At least a minute, right, Tom?
Yeah, at least 1 minute.
At least 1 minute. So if they just flipped through, it didn't count.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it means they stayed for at least 1 minute and then took another action, like flipping the channel, anything but using the volume control.
Yeah. Anthony Wasselkoff.
Yes, sir. Can we know what the exact representative sample was, how large it was? Would you tell us that?
Do you remember, Tom, what the sample size was?
It's different for each demographic that you take a look at. I can look through the raw data, but I don't
I
know
might
off the top of my
mention
head.
that the raw data is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of zeros and ones and columns that you've got to sort through and try and analyze and put filters on and try and make sense out of. Tom spent a lot of time analyzing the spreadsheets that we got. It's hundreds and hundreds of pages, literally. And there's more information than that in here that isn't really relevant to us.
They're dog lovers.
Oh, dog lovers?
Yeah, 70% of our audience have dogs.
Yeah. See, if you're selling dog food, that's important, right?
Yeah.
But we're not, so, yeah. Okay, so let's have Aaron and then I think Mario.
When we run our ads for our booklets and things, is there any thought to one commercial? I know when I'm watching a show and a commercial comes on, that's when I flip a channel. And if another show's on, I may stay there, if another commercial, I keep going. I just wonder if we make sure we're offset when we run our ads so that it isn't at the same time to get people flipping on.
Our ads don't generally run at
Till the end, yeah.
those exact marks. At the 7 minute, the 14 minute, the 21 minute, we don't run exactly like that. Also, we don't break away to an ad anymore like we used to. It's done right in the middle of the program. By the way, get this, don't change channels, we're moving right along. We don't break away. So that's just try to negate that. Yeah. Mario?
I was intrigued by how many were Democrats. I would never have.
What's wrong with
guessed-
Democrats, Mario?
Nothing. I'm just mentioning here that, and I know this is all jest, but I wonder whether that would sort of represent people getting our magazines as well, because in a sense, you look at the audience and you think, okay, they're probably a little more open-minded about things. There are some that are more centered. I don't think you're getting the radical left, but I just thought it's an interesting information.
And I might mention that since we've had a live studio audience for the TV program, that in itself changes the tone and voice in how the program is presented, because we've had almost 50 or 60 non-members now in our audience, and quite a few repeats as well, and a couple is coming to church now. So when our presenters are talking about heaven and hell or the Sabbath, they're talking to people that aren't keeping the Sabbath. They know about it because they get a magazine. Maybe they've been getting it for a while. But that changes the tone of voice too. So the fact that we know that a lot of our audience, or more than half our audience, do lean a little left, that's good to know. And it can change the tone of how you approach someone, so you can kind of meet them where they are and bring them centered on God's word. But yeah, it's an interesting observation, Mario. And I think having the audience be non-church members, a certain percentage, has helped us change our approach. I might give an example. 2 months ago, Gary Petty was explaining the holy days. And there was 16 people in the audience that don't keep the holy days. And he saw that some of them were struggling to keep up with him. And so he it messed us up on the teleprompter. Poor Ariana was going crazy trying to find out where he's going, because he backed up and he decided to explain it over again. Because when you've got the real audience there, you become sensitive to how they're looking. Are they getting it? Do they look confused? And so you may have to restate it or put it in different terms to help them understand. So it's been a good thing. And hopefully that's carrying across now into our Sunday morning audience, because it's the same people. They're not keeping the holy days yet. They're not keeping the Sabbath. And we're trying to get them to understand it and why they should. So hopefully as the year goes by, I'm hoping next February we get even better results. So, Anthony?
Yes, sir. For page 3, do we have the option now, or will we have the option in the future of knowing, for instance, how many people watch at least 15 minutes of the program?
Yeah, so Tom could probably answer that. Is it possible to drill down any deeper into the time?
If you want to pay a little bit more, sure. They said, we'll get you any information you want. We can tell you what kind of toothpaste they use if you want to pay for it. So basically anything about your audience that they collect for advertising purposes. So yeah, we can drill that down at the level we contracted them. They weren't going to run that report for us, but something we can probably do next time. And they have historical data as well. So if we're interested in
Going back
next
further.
time, they hold on to it indefinitely.
Mm.
They're collecting all the data. You just got to pay to get it.
Yeah, so that's how much you want to pay for, yeah. And so we did a bare minimum we could, said what can we get for $5,000 for 3 months? And, yeah. Rena, and then
If you
Dan.
wanted to, could you pay to get a rating on somebody else's program? Like another Church of God group?
Sure.
Probably, if you want to pay Nielsen, they'll give it to you, yeah. I don't know that it's private or proprietary, yeah.
They'll give you anything you want.
For the right price. Mr. Dowd.
Peter, was there anything that jumped out at you guys as you went through this material in terms of topics or things that perhaps we're not addressing or that could be things that we would address in the future?
What I noticed was that the top responses we get from phone calls coming in after a program are not necessarily correlating with the number of viewers that day.
Right, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
So like some of these topics, with some of what you saw in terms of the programs and the responses here being different than what you see.
Yeah, it didn't always correlate. I'm not
Right,
sure
so
why.
that was my question. Did you put anything together in terms of what might be different there that maybe is another topic or another approach or?
We haven't yet. Some of it I think is just almost chance on a Sunday morning as to who's up and who's watching, and obviously we start to generate a returning audience, which is what we want to do. And now we have repeat customers that are got lots of booklets now. That's good. But as far as just a general audience that morning, I'm not sure that we have a lot of control over it.
I know that, but still
Yeah.
in the randomness, there might be something that would pop out. Was just curious.
Yeah, okay. Aaron and Mr. Wasselkoff.
Yeah, I would tend to think that the repeat programs would depend more on what was going on that day. If Andrew was getting, or Harry was getting married, or if some major shoot 'em up thing and everybody's watching the news that day versus, I think because it's a set time. On the Roku, you'll watch it whenever you feel like it, but to me, the major news events affect the regular programming a lot more than a Roku or streaming would be.
And we didn't do it during the summer because things are down during the summer, as we've seen from our own results this summer. Now they're back up again. February, March, and April is a pretty good time to do a test. The other good time is September, October, November. But yeah, I'm not sure, Dan, on your questions. We have to think about that, if there's any correlation. Mr. Wasselkoff?
Yes, sir. We have regulars who phone on Monday and ask for the booklet that was offered the previous day.
Mm-hmm. There's a
So
few, yeah.
They're not sure what it was.
I say you do.
They didn't see the program.
You
but they
mean
still want
in
the booklet.
Canada you
Yeah,
do?
mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, they don't want to miss out on anything free.
What are you giving us
Yes. Dr. Ward?
I think one of the things that we really should look at has to do with political leanings and ask ourselves why that is. It's pretty significant with regard to Democrat versus Republican, and you look at factors, maybe it's socioeconomic, that in general now the Democrats are in the lower socioeconomic class, and the social agenda, the other thing is social agenda. So I think one of the main reasons why the majority of church members are, if they had a political leaning, are Republicans because of social agenda, the LGBTQ, abortion, and some of the issues like that. And so why would our message be more appealing to Democrats than Republicans? I think that's worth exploring.
Yes, it is, definitely. And I'll be curious to see next February if it's a similar ratio again, or if this is just what the sampling was this time. You know,
But you have, what, 3 months?
3 months. 3 months,
That's
yeah.
pretty good, Sam.
It's a pretty good sampling. Yeah, Aaron?
I still wonder, Republicans know why they're Republican in a sense. Democrats, I asked my people on my street once when asked them, what are you? Democrat, well, why? Well, this is a democracy, so I'm a Democrat. They didn't even understand we're Republican, but I just wonder how educated some of these people know to even say what they are. Because a lot of people that come in fairly ignorant about, there's no civics taught anymore or anything like that. I don't know that people really know what they're saying when they say they are Democrat or Republican.
Well, according to the survey, though, the
They
high
listed that.
It's who they voted for.
high
in the
percentage
previous
are educated, college educated.
So it's based on who they voted for, Tom? Is that who you said?
This is a Democrat or Republican based on who you voted for in the last presidential election.
Well, so
The
that,
survey.
that's even more significant.
That's significant, yeah.
Mr. Martin, did you have your hand up?
No, I was scratching my.
Gretchen?
I appreciate your attentiveness.
You just sold you a new house.
Sold.
Scott?
Yeah, to follow up on Dr. Ward's comments, yeah, those are two things that jumped out at me at the political affiliation.
Did for us too, by the way.
But also, we know which party is more religious and which isn't, and why is a viewership that is that heavily skewed toward Democrats watching a religious program? I mean, to me, that just
I have a theory.
yeah.
Yeah, and it is that a lot of those who lean more conservative are very comfortable with their religious beliefs and their belief in God and their church. They go to church every Sunday. They're happy with that. They believe. I think that those leaning more to the left may not be as satisfied as they think they are, and they're still searching. They're still looking for some kind of fulfillment in their life. They don't go to church regularly, and maybe they're looking, they're wondering, they're searching, and they're just not satisfied. And so they're flipping channels on Sunday morning to see what people are saying. Whereas a more conservative person is already going to church and they're quite happy with their church. In fact, we have a lot of readers like that. Even people that come to the studio to watch the programs in our audience. I've been getting the magazine for 10, 15 years. I'm happy. And they send us money every month, but they're quite happy to go to their church down on the corner. They're not interested in joining us, but they like what we have to say. They think it's interesting, food for thought. But I think Democrats may be searching a little more because they're not as satisfied as you might think.
Well, that sort of enters into what I said, one of the reasons might be socioeconomic.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is interesting, the demographics of Sunday of whites, blacks, and others almost fits the demographics of the nation.
Which you would expect us to from a random sampling, wouldn't you, on a Sunday morning? You kind of hopefully get us kind of a sampling of the nation, wouldn't you? Yeah.
We actually have a higher proportion of black viewers than the national average population.
More Spanish.
You know, what the national average in blacks is what, 15%, and this is 22?
I think it's about 9 when I took a look at it, but I could be wrong.
9?
But I could be, that sounds low.
I think you are on that one, maybe.
But I do remember looking at the same thing, and we attract a proportionally higher black audience than the national average, just population growth on Sunday morning.
Last Siri, right quick.
Yeah. Be careful because your phone will answer you right on the spot if you say ask Siri.
There are actually more Hispanics than there are blacks in the nation.
Yeah, and that showed low on here.
Yeah.
Texas being the nation.
Let's bring Mario on the program.
Yeah, Rick Myers speaks in Spanish.
But I think black is 13% and Hispanics are 15% of the nation.
Any other thoughts before we wrap it up? Do you have your hand up, Vic?
Nope.
Sold. Okay. All right, Mr. Chairman, I will turn the gavel back to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Very interesting.